Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the DC Capstone Report. It's great to be with you today, back on this podcast on Alabama football, coming off of a heartbreaking total beatdown in Norman, Oklahoma by the Oklahoma Sooners. Well, I'm glad that everybody's here to listen to the podcast this week. I want to thank Lance Shores, who's in the studio making this podcast possible. His production, doing a great job with that. I want to thank our sponsors, RollTideBama.com, FreelancePictures.com. And also, Karen Cottingham Realtor right here in Tuscaloosa with the Williams Group at Keller Williams. For all your real estate needs, reach out to Karen, 205-887-4008. You can also go to our website, dccapstonereport.com. They have links to all of our sponsors on there. You can go to RollTideBama.com, FreelancePictures.com. You can also touch the button on Karen Cottingham, look at all the inventory that she can sell you right here in Tuscaloosa and across the state of Alabama for that matter. So again, Karen Cottingham Realtor right here in Tuscaloosa with the Williams Group at Keller Williams for all your real estate needs. Well, this week on the podcast, we're going to have two segments. We're going to review the game against Oklahoma. And in the second segment, we're going to preview the upcoming game against our rival, the Auburn Tigers. You're listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is featured each Tuesday morning on the Martin Houston Show at Tide 100.9. You can listen live at Tide100.9.com. Well, welcome back to the podcast. Well, I noticed from the very opening that I broke it up in two segments because I don't think there was any players of the game that I wanted to discuss because of the way there's so much we can talk about this Oklahoma game on the road. So let's unpack this game together. First of all, let me give you my perspective. You know, I'm an Alabama fan. I know a little bit about football based over my years of experience of working at the Bryant Museum and working with different coaches, and know a little bit about how things are done. So I have a good perspective. It's a unique perspective from which I can look at things. But I'm always positive. I have an optimistic outlook. But I have to tell you that how to critique this Oklahoma game, I'm going to be completely brutally honest with you guys out there. I think that's the only way to be. I was optimistic going in, picked Alabama to have a blowout victory, thought they would repeat what they did on the road at LSU and the beatdown they gave Missouri at home. I thought we were on the right track, thought we had learned from our mistakes. But apparently in this game it was very clear to me that we have not learned from our mistakes. So let me talk about some things first of all that the buzzwords, things are talking about this game. Well, some people are talking about the officiating. I'll be honest, it was the worst officiating I've seen of a game in quite some time. The call that called back the touchdown to Ryan Williams was an absolute blown, blatant, incorrect call. The announcers talked about it at the time it happened. The actual review referee that is commentator hired by the network to explain things couldn't explain anything. I don't think anybody believes that was a correct call. If you watch it from a wide angle, the referee called it way about the time the touchdown pass was caught. So this was a blatantly wrong call. Did that lose the game for us? I think we lost the game for us. Oklahoma beat us. That's what I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you that something has got to be done about these terrible calls that go against multiple teams, not just Alabama teams, but multiple teams. It just happened to be a blatant wrong call. So I say it. It was the wrong call. It was a bad call. I don't think you can make it sound any better than that. I don't think there's any way for the talking heads to even say that it was could have seen something. It just didn't happen. But did that change the outcome? It could have. Could have gotten better momentum had we scored that touchdown, only been down 2 scores. You don't know what would happen. But the way we were playing, it just didn't look like that. I'm not making excuses. That's why we lost the game. Just commenting that, yes, I think it was a horrible call. The lights, people get the lights excuses. Everybody else that plays in that stadium at night has to deal with the same thing. So, yeah, the lights caused us to miss some balls, drop some passes, and that probably changed momentum. May have changed the way throwing trajectory of some of the balls that Milroe threw, but I don't think that's the reason we lost. Everybody plays in that stadium and the light at night has to deal with those lights. So let's get over that and quit talking about the lights. So let's talk about the real reason that Alabama got beat in this game. Number one, Alabama was not prepared to go on the road and win this game against a team that was going to play physical. We got out physical by Oklahoma in this game. And I want to give credit to Coach Venables. He took the week off. He looked at the film and he found the way that the scheme, if you will, the game plan, the magic potion on what to do to beat Alabama. He didn't have to look far. It's been on film since the Vanderbilt game on how to do it. And he found it, he duplicated it, and that is why we lost this game. Why? Because our coaching staff, our players couldn't adjust to execute a game plan when we got hit with the same kind of schemes that we got hit with in the Vanderbilt game. What do I mean by that? If you go back and dissect the Vanderbilt game, they had a game plan. Clark Lee's defense had a game plan, and that defense was to not let Jalen Milroe run, not let him beat him with the legs. All right, and they did a great job. We weren't ready for it. They did a great job. Number two was they were going to beat Alabama's offense by running the ball with the quarterback and throwing shovel passes. That was going to be that was their mode of operation, and it worked continually over and over and over. They didn't have to throw the ball, which was something they didn't need to do. They ran the ball so effectively against us by using the quarterback run and the shovel passes. All right, so that's the way Alabama got beat by Vanderbilt. So what I said was this: that is exactly what Oklahoma came out. They were more physical. They played a great game plan. They schemed in the first half, and they had us. They had us in the first half. When we went to halftime, they had us 10-3, a very, very margin that we could come back from. So I expected that we would go into the halftime and we would make some adjustments. Well, let me tell you, why did I expect that? Because we had gotten beat at Vanderbilt, and I assumed that this coaching staff came back after the Vanderbilt game and dissected that film and said, how did they beat us, and what could we do to respond if that is ever done again? Because you think somebody might look at that film and try to defend us that way. And Missouri didn't do it, LSU didn't do it, but Oklahoma did. So I expected that they would have a game plan to fix that. Maybe not be able to do it on the fly, maybe yet not be able to fix it on the fly during the first half, but go into halftime and say, hey guys, this is nothing new to us. This is what Vanderbilt did. Remember when we sat in those film rooms and we took time and we invested in, hey, this is what we can do to respond when this happens to us again down the road, anticipating it. And so, okay, here's what we're going to do, X, Y, and Z on offense, and A, B, and C on defense, and then go out and execute that in the second half. That's what I expected from this coaching staff. That's what I expected from our players to recognize and let's say, let's do something different. But that is not what happened. We go out in the second half and we do the same game plan that we're getting beat on in the first half, trying to think that we can out-hustle them, out-physical them, and have more talent. But that is not what happened. We came back and they continually play in the second half of the third quarter, get 14 points and go up 24-3, and we never responded after that. So I put this loss on poor execution. I put this loss on poor coaching. And now, am I down on the coaching staff? No. I'm just saying I'm frustrated because they didn't adjust to what they knew could happen down the road. So am I mad? No. Am I angry? No. I'm frustrated and I'm disappointed. This was a disappointing loss. We had everything ahead of us for this coaching staff to get this team ready to be prepared for all scenarios. And I think that somebody should have stood up in the meetings in preparation and said, hey, this team is good defensively, and they might just take that Vanderbilt game plan and try to stop us. So how do we counteract it? And I don't think that anybody did that, and that's what concerns me the most. That's what frustrates me the most, and that's what's the most disappointing. We have the talent, we have the ability to execute, and we've done it before, but we didn't do it in this game, and we made no adjustments in this game. So I think it was a matter of poor execution, poor coaching, and lack of physical play. We were bullied by this defense into going into a shell and not being able to take advantage of what we could have done had we have just been prepared. So the game at Oklahoma was disappointing. The game at Oklahoma was frustrating. So the problem we're going to have now is, how do you get up off the canvas after being knocked out, knocked down? How do you get up off the canvas and go home and when no one believes in you and play your biggest rival across the state? That's what's coming up, folks. We got to bury this Oklahoma game and get ready for Saturday's game against the Auburn Tigers. Because I promise you, Auburn would love nothing best than to come in here and get bowl eligible by beating Alabama at home in Bryant-Denny Stadium this Saturday. Well, welcome back to the second segment here on DC Capstone Report. Thanks again for Lance Shores there in the studio, for all of our sponsors. Thank you for continuing to tune in and just listen to what we have to say. You know, it is to me, we are so encouraged every time we see the number of people who are watching our podcast or listening to our podcast. And there's so many mediums now. You can get it. You can get it at our website. You can get it on YouTube. You can get it at Facebook page. You can get it on Spotify. Just opportunities for everybody to listen, and it just seems to be growing. So we want to thank you for that. Well, here on the second segment, we're going to preview the upcoming game against the Auburn Tigers. Well, the first thing how I ended the first segment is the way I begin this segment. Is this Alabama team going to be able to get up off the canvas? Do we have anything else left to play for? Our chances of making the college football playoff are so minimal now that I don't even want to discuss it. We need to be able to show some Alabama pride in that script A that we wear so pridefully, pride in everyone's hard work and determination they've done, and we need to finish. That should be the word this week, to finish this season well, go to 9-3, and let the chips fall where they may. We do not need to get embarrassed on our home field against the Auburn Tigers. Every one of the players in that room ought to feel something after coming off a beatdown like Oklahoma gave us on the road. And we ought to be able to turn that failure, as Coach Saban used to say, we don't need to waste that failure. We need to burn it, flush it, but remember how it felt. And we need to come back in and make some adjustments in order to be able to face a good Auburn team who's coming off an emotional high of a 4-overtime victory against Texas A&M. So they're going to come in here with nothing to lose and play everything they can. And they've got a great running back. They've got a running back who runs the ball well. And we haven't shown that we could stop the run against Oklahoma. So what do you think they're going to do? Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. If we can stop the run in this game with their quarterback and their running back, then we have an opportunity to win this game. But if we play the same way we did against Oklahoma, then my fear is we will lose the momentum, we will lose any pride that we have, and we'll lose this game eventually. And it will be such a sad and disappointing day here. But what do we need to do to make sure that doesn't happen? Well, number one, we come in with a defense and learn to tackle and stop the run. And then we cause turnovers so that give our offense a short field. And we make sure that we get off the field on third down and don't let the quarterback extend plays with his legs. I believe we have a good enough pass defense to defend against Peyton Thorne, but I do believe he can beat us with his legs, just like the Oklahoma quarterback was able to do and the Vanderbilt quarterback was able to do. I believe he can beat us with his legs, so we have to get in the game and get off the field. Number two is we have to play with passion. This is a rivalry game. We got to play with passion. I heard Tyler Booker make a statement this morning that when the teammates are worried about external factors, they don't execute their game plan, and that's become evident. They were worried about having to win that game to get into the college football playoff at Oklahoma, and they didn't worry about executing the game plan. So we don't have to worry about anything else. We need to worry about winning this game against Auburn. The only thing that should matter Saturday is beating Auburn. And I hope that they funnel all of their passion into that as they prepare for this game. So on offense, what do we need to do? We need to make sure that we can pass the ball and run the ball. Don't rely always on Jalen Milroe to run the ball. When you do that, you handicap yourself and you give your opponent one key thing to key on. We need to make sure that we hand the ball off to our running backs, we throw the ball downfield, we throw the intermediate passes, short passes, and distribute the ball well. Jalen Milroe is an athlete that is fantastic. He's a great quarterback, great athlete, great at a lot of things. But he did not play great in the Oklahoma game. He made mistakes. He didn't hit receivers. He ran the ball too wide. He didn't turn up and take the 4 or 5 yards that they were giving him. He wanted to break the game open on the long runs by the outside, and by doing that, he lost yardage. So he made mistakes. He threw interceptions. He did all things that were wrong in that Oklahoma game, but that doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. It means he had a bad game. So I don't blame Jalen Milroe. I blame the entire team for not being ready to play in the Oklahoma game. So the team has to be ready to execute offensively in this game against Auburn, because I'm telling you, they're going to be gunning everything they can to stop Jalen Milroe in this game, thinking if they can stop Jalen Milroe in the game, that they're going to have an opportunity to win that game, much like they did last year in Auburn. And the only thing that separated us last year from losing to Auburn was a 4th and 31 pass on the Gravedigger play. We need to remember that. This Auburn team has an opportunity to come into Bryant-Denny and shock Alabama when we're down and beat us. We don't need to let them believe they can win. So our third thing is on offense we have to do is start fast. We need to get ahead. We need to not turn the ball over. We need to not lose on third downs. We need to win on third downs. We need to convert. We don't need to have any mistakes, no turnovers, nothing that would give momentum to Auburn, because if we give them a sliver of hope, we'll be sitting there in this game disappointed again. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be tight because I don't think Alabama is going to be going through the motions to begin with, because I think it's going to be still a lull after losing the Oklahoma game. I hope not, but that's what my fear is. I think it's going to be a tight game, and I think Alabama has a chance to win the tight game only because we're playing at home with a group of fans that can hopefully affect the game. So I got Alabama winning this game 31-27. Alabama 31. Auburn 27. I hope that my prediction is wrong this week. I hope we blow them out and we show that this game against Oklahoma was not the rule, it was the exception to the rule. And this team is really a good team that comes together. But I know this rivalry game has all the ingredients of an upset on the road for Auburn after coming off that loss at Oklahoma. Can this Alabama team get up off the canvas, show pride in themselves and pride in our school, and go out and beat Auburn on Saturday? I hope so. And I hope that next week we're talking about a miraculous getting into the college football playoff opportunity that Alabama might have. Well, until then, this is DC with the DC Capstone Report. I thank you as always for listening in to us. And I end this. I don't want anyone to think this has been a negative thing. It's been a critiquing thing, but I'm always going to be an Alabama fan. I'm a believer in Alabama that can get this done. So I'll leave this with a big Roll Tide.